Hello everybody and welcome to a Dragon Age Inquisition. I'm gonna try recording this. It probably won't get edited until after I get back from work. I don't know how much I'm gonna be able to record right now before I have to go, but we're gonna try getting at least some of this done here right now. Okay.
Rebel mages probably made that damn breach.
When will you be able to
If
get
you're
us
here to
the
clean,
promptings
Hess can get you a
we
bucket and a broom. Anyone calls you knife here, come to me. Oh, you're her. Thren, Inquisition Quartermaster. I'm doing what I can to supply this mess. If you find what I need to fill one of my requisitions, I'd appreciate you bringing it in.
My computer is being very funky.
What do you do here?
I make sure the Inquisition troops have food in their bellies and iron in their hands. Both are important. Lots of people expecting us to be heroes, marching all day to fight the demons. Turns out heroes need to dig latrines just like everyone else.
Will do.
How does someone end up as quartermaster for the Inquisition?
I served for Eldon under Ten Loghain MacTier, best commanding officer this world has ever seen. After they all turned on him at Denerim, though, there wasn't much use for people who held that opinion. King Alistair offered my services to the Inquisition, probably to get rid of me.
With that attitude, I can't imagine how you made enemies in Denerim.
People just don't want to hear the truth. I was at Ostagar, and I know what really happened. King Cailan overextended his position, and the Grey Wardens were too late lighting the signal. Following the original plan would have gotten everyone killed. Ten Loghain made the right decision. I apologize. Sister Liliana told me I shouldn't talk about this. Just forget it.
Yeah, she's got a point. There's some, questions on whether truth is the truth about it, I'm sure they felt he was doing the right thing, but nobody can read the minds of individual. Tell me about your requests.
What did you mean when you mentioned requisitions?
I'm making this Inquisition run with what we have, but we're not a real army. We're stretched thin on materials, so I've put up a requisition list for anything that could help our people. Here, take a look. You find some iron and a good logging site, maybe Harriet can get our troops better weapons.
If I have material for a special order, do I bring it to you?
Just take it over there. One of my boys will take the materials or jot down what you found.
Goodbye.
Farewell.
Make her go with you.
Alright, so we have a new quest. That's where we put it. We don't have the stuff for it, but we will eventually. Here. Okay, that was just the table. Patient observation, day 3. Less stressing, some response to stimulus. Vital seems solid. 2 attempts so far by locals to break into the chantry to kill my patient. All this work to save her life, and will they just execute her? We'll inform Lady Cassandra. I expect her to wake up before the morn. People are trying to kill me. Ooh, there's... Yeah. Got you over here. I'll take you. Okay. Andraste's Mabari. You know Andraste's old Mabari. He didn't show up in the chant, and if you ask those holy sisters, well, they'll all say Andraste can't have had a big old smelly war dog, but all of Ferelda knows it's right. Our sweet lady needed someone who would warm her feet at night, and there There's Andraste's Mabari by the Holy Prophet's side. In the fight against Deventer, the dog will never hide. They say the Maker sent him specially, always loyal without pride, so he would be sworn champion of the Maker's holy bride. Oh, that dog, he guards Andraste without arrogance for fear, only asking of his master just a scratch behind the ears. But then old Macvarus gets to plotting, tries to lure the dog away, but even as the trap, the prophet, her Mabari, never strays. And there's Andraste's Mabari by the holy prophet's side. In the fight against Deventer, the dog will never hide. They say the Maker sent him special and loyal without pride, so he will be sworn champion of the Maker's holy bride. Oh, they thought the wounds had killed him, but then he limped out towards the fire, and Hezron, he shed a tear, and that dog laid on the pyre. And there's Andraste's Mabari by a holy prophet's side. In the fight against Deventer, the dog will never hide. They say the Maker sent him special and always loyal without pride, so he could be sworn champion of the Maker's holy bride. Yes, that's the Mabari, the companion of the Maker's holy bride. A popular, historical, unlikely Forellan Tavern song. Okay, so we're not talking companions yet.
You built for them the golden city, the center of and you've seen no signs of the Grey Wardens anywhere.
Okay, no more talking? Okay. Tales of the
Fine
Prospect.
day to you.
Goodness. As I start talking, then you decide to talk. Okay. Even mountains had a heart once, when the world was young. Korath, the mountain father, kept his throne at the peak of Belenus, the mountain at the center of the world, from which he could see all corners of the earth and sky. And he saw strong men become weak, brave men grow cowardly, and wise men turn foolish for love. Korath devised a plan that he might never be betrayed by his own heart by taking it out and hiding it where no soul would ever dare search for it. He sealed it inside a golden cask, buried it in the earth, and raised around it a fierce mountain the world has ever seen, the Prospects, to guard it. But without his heart, the mountain father grew cruel. His chest was filled with bitter mountain winds that shrieked and howled like lost souls. Food lost its flavor, music had no sweetness, and he lost all joy in deeds of valor. He sent avalanches and earthquakes to torment the tribes of men. Gods and men rose against him, calling him a tyrant, but with no heart, Korath could not be slain. Soon there were no heroes left, neither among men or gods, who dared challenge Korath. The Lady of the Skies sent the best of her children, the swiftest, the cleverest, the strongest flyers, to scrub the mountains for the missing heart. And for a day they searched, but Sparrow and Raven, Vulture and Eagle, Swift and Albinus returned to her with nothing. Then the Partamegan spoke up and offered to find the god chief's heart. The other birds laughed, for the Partamegan is a tiny bird, too humble to soar, which spent half of its time hopping along the ground. The lady would not give the little creature her blessing, for the mountains were too fierce, even for eagles. But the Partamegan set out anyway. The little bird traveled deep into the Prospects, where she could not fly. She crawled. She hugged the ground and withered the worst mountain's winds, and so made her lonely way to the valley where the heart beat. With all the gods' terrible deeds, the heart was so far too heavy for the tiny little bird to carry, so she rolled it, little by little, out of the valley and down a cliff, and the golden cask struck the earth. It shattered. The heart was full almost to bursting, and the pain of it roused the mountain god to come see what had happened. When Korath neared his heart, it leaped back into his chest, and he was whole again. Then Hakon Wildenbreast bounded Korath's chest with 3 bands of iron and 3 bands of ice, so it could never again escape, and all the remaining gods named the parent honor above even the loftiest eagle. The Parmus, an Amvar tale from Ferelden folklore and history by Sister Patrine, Chantry Scholar. Resources found here. Elf root, iron.
Are you
Just that?
sure?
We all did.
True enough. No.
Okay. Nothing in here, but there is one in here, I believe. Ah, there it is. And I'm stuck. Okay, Randy Downery Quarry. As well-worn Quarry massive of succession future. The Randy Downery welcomes the cool autumn with the fall of another. The collective dreams of of desire being confession of apprentice and training more fearling than harrowing. Forbidden dalliances at their most spirited. The Randy Downery exhibit for the noble of thoughts, but spray of step. The lady herself says, enchanting. One supports a circle, if only because closed doors offer the imagination more. 3 scarves fluttering in shock out of 5 RD. Oh my god. I keep getting stuck on that thing. Loot. Loot. Okay. Let's go in. Apothecary. Recipes through exploration or visitation merchants. Visit an apothecary with herbs you gather in the wilderness to upgrade potions. Use the equip station to assign different potions to each of your party members and to replenish potions you are carrying. Use the upgrade station to unlock permanent upgrades to your potions.
Thank you for hurrying with the potions. We have so many injured.
We'll get them back on their feet, sister. Don't you worry.
Patient observation day 2. Pulse normal, breathing normal, still unresponsible, careful dropped fed of prep. Elfwood extract to hasten her recovery. A lot of trashing, muttering about too many eyes, something about the gray, encouraging. That the gray will come back later in there. And if you played this before, you know what the gray is. Hello, Adan.
Look who's back from the dead. Again.
We met?
I don't recall meeting you before.
I'd be surprised if you did. You weren't particularly coherent. Someone had to patch you up after you staggered out of making those wear, though. So, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I didn't realize. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you can pay me back by fixing the world. Name's Adan. I'm in charge of keeping our little band here stocked with potions and elixirs. Not that Seeker Pentagast seems to care whether we've got the supplies to actually do that.
Yeah, you were a bit cranky.
For a healer, you don't seem particularly nurturing.
I'm not a healer. I'm an alchemist who's forced to play Mother Hen.
And that's why.
You want something to burst into flame on contact with the air? Done. Gladly. Patching up wounded soldiers is a waste of my time and talents. But there are a few around who can help.
Yeah, how's things?
How are your people holding up?
There's no shortage of work. That's for damn sure.
Need anything?
Is there anything I can do to help out?
We're fine as far as raw labor goes. You've more important things to do than tend to me. I only wish I'd been able to find Master Tajin's notes. Old bastard was working on something special. He died at the Conclave, and his notes weren't here. Been too busy dealing with the wounded to look for them.
How do I fill potions?
How do I go about having potions made?
Just take a look there and tell me what you'd like. Find a recipe for something better, I can make that too.
Thank you. Okay. Blood Lotus, do not try to get out of this. We are told you were the best. That is why you were contracted. Was it not you who obtained the 200 white blooming rose bushes for the Empire's winter ball last year? The Comtesse has been intimately patient till now, but she doesn't understand why it is so hard to fill the garden pool. She wants no more excuse, and no, she will not compromise with the dawn lotus. They're white. The flowers have to match the silk canopies. It's crucial. Dark purple, dark red. Do not try to frame this as a safety issue. The guests will be perfectly safe. Why, if the experiments any hallucinations from the contradiction of the lotus ascents in the air, I'm certain it will only make the evening more thrilling. I don't care if you have to send someone to some Ferelden peat bog to get it all. Just do it. A note from Chamberlain Laurent to the Grand Gardener Umbridge Vulcain over the decorations for the Compass d'Arny summer garden party. Excuse me. According to gossip in the Val Royeaux, the Chamberlain did succeed in convincing Grand Gardener Valian to provide 420 lotus plants. The party was considered by the most to be a roaring success, even though the evening concluded with at least 12 guests asleep on the lawn, 3 in the pool, and 1 lady losing several teeth trying to take a bite out of a marble statue of the Comtesse's father, which she was convinced was made of cake. Nice. A study of the Fifth Blight, Volume 1. While some of my conversaries dispute whether the Fifth Blight was a true blight or merely a large darkspawn recurrence, historians agree that in the beginning of the swamps of Kirkaria Wilds, on the southern border of Ferelden in the year 930 Dragon, King Callahan Thuren was swift into responding to the threat, gathering royal army, every Grey Warden in his country, and sending a call for aid to the Ferelden nobility. The assembling armies laid a trap in the ruins of Ostagar, hoping to crush the forces before it reached civilization. Excuse me. But they failed. Darkspawn overran the defenders of Ostagar and devastated the king and his army. They continued to advance into Ferelden unopposed. Only 2 Grey Wardens managed to escape the slaughter, and somehow they came to possession of the ancient treaties which compelled the races of men to join armies against the massive horde. The surviving Wardens made their way to Clonachhold, home of Ferelden's Circle, and conscript the mages. In desperation to find more allies, the Grey Wardens journeyed into the Brazilian forest, seeking the Dalish. The elves, too, joined the growing army. Into the deep roads, the surviving Wardens went, searching for Paragon Branca in hopes that she could settle the unrest in Orzammar and unite the dwarves in the battle against the archdemon. Branca could not be located, but another Paragon was found, the legendary Caridin, who forged a crown to end all the questions of succession. Balin Adukin was crowned the king of Orzammar, and the dwarven armies marched for the service. Despite their air of success, though, great challenges were yet to come. A study of the Fifth Blight by Sister Bertrine, Chantry Scholar. Okay. The First Inquisition. The birth of the Chantry took place more than 9 ages ago. The mist of the time have obscured once well-known facts. It is commonly believed that the Chantry alone created the Templars and the Circle of Magi. Few recall there was ever an Inquisition. Those who do believe it predates the Chantry, hunting cultists and mages in a reign of terror ending only upon its transformation into the Templar Order. This is not quite the truth. One must keep in mind that the state of Thedas prior to the Chantry's creation, a world where the only source of order, the Deventer Imperium, had fallen apart. People blame magic for the death of Andraste, the blight, the terror they saw every day, and not without reason. Abominations and demons rampaged the countryside. No one... Ooh, I don't know what that was for. Interesting. No one was safe. Desperate groups of men and women initially formed the seekers of truth, determined to reestablish order because no one else would do what was necessary. The truth they sought, the questions they tried to answer, was how to restore sanity to the world gone mad. There are a region of terror, perhaps, evidence such they were as vigilant in their protection of the mages as they were regular people. When they intervened, they convinced an ad hoc trial to determine the guilty party. This even application of justice led to their poor reputation. The Seekers came down against every group at one time or another, their Inquisition gaining notorious for being on no one's side but their own. They considered themselves good people, however, following the followers of the Maker's true commandment. This was never more evident than when they laid down their banner in support of the fledgling chantry. They believed with all their heart that the Templar Order was the answer a desperate Thetis needed in a terrible time. Ultimately, the Inquisition was composed of independent idealists, not chantry zealots. That is the truth. In the Pursuit of Knowledge, the Travels of a Chantry Scholar by Brother Genetivi, which is really interesting. It seems like every time the chantry touches something, it goes to crap, just like any kind of other political advancement that meant well, but people take it more to an extreme later on after years and years of it. Alright, so Venator. After the excessive study of the Cornori specimens you kindly provide, I've come to a conclusion that the paint markings on their faces and bodies are not, in fact, solely for ceremonial purpose, but provide a particular benefit. Well, I'm certain there is some cultural significance to the patterns and colors they chose, but Cornori do nothing without purpose, yes? They call these markings Venator, which in their tongue means poison armor. It is called this because the markings are magical in nature and actually harden their skin to an iron-like quality without hindering flexibility. And my analysis says that the painting consists largely of poison, to mix with something else, blood, perhaps their own, and that neutralizes the poison, but only for one with Cornori physiology. Anyone else would perish almost instantly. Which reminds me, I kindly require another body slave. The process activates the magical qualities of the poison, which provides protection effects almost in the same manner as lyrium runes do. How this works and whether it can be used for our purpose will require further study, perhaps some live specimens this time. From a letter written by Nimria Organis, apprentice to Manchester Varus, Dragon 932. Okay. We read that. I don't really want to read that, but I guess I could. Empire of Fire in the regions of the Lion, eclipse in the eye of the Empire of We or Legions. Empire of Fire, what seasons may come, we fight for the day you restore our hearts and bring us glory. We are forever in your grace. Empire of Fire, save us, everyone. The nation reviles, the course is but run, an end has begun. Empire of Fire, believe in us all, embrace us with arms and dress us with swords, and light up our hearts with blood so bold. We are forever in your grace. Empire of Fire, in the reins of the lion, eclipse in the eye the empire of all legions. We, Empress of Fire, what seasons may come, we fight for the day you restore our hearts and bring us glory, as performed by the bar Hinterlands. Whatever. Ooh, I've been reading a lot today. And I'm getting out of breath. Hopefully I can work. Yes, yes. Potions, potions. I love this one. Everybody gets equipped with this. And then later in the game, you get this third block here. I will add what I think is necessary. All right.
Let me know if you need it.
Nice. Is it just me that upgraded? Yeah. All right. Apply. Perfect. Okay. Now let's keep going.
Have you heard about the refugees out in the Hinterlands, near Redcliffe?
Hard going. The mages and the Templars put a lot of people out of their homes.
At least Mother Giselle is there to help.
I think food and clothing would help more than prayers.
Yes, I agree with you. The Singing Maiden. Have you ever heard the story of King Bendrin? Bendrin was, like most kings, was a man of great pride who expected nothing but complete loyalty from his subjects. He believed the best way to achieve this was through fear. After all, those who feared him would never cross him or question his rule. Most importantly, those who feared him would always seek to please him. Bendrin confidence stared in his subordinates through the gleeful and unrestrained use of a cranchette referred to as the Maiden. The Maiden was a hinged iron casket as high and wide and deep as a man, with vicious spikes within, meant to pierce through the poor souls locked into it. Bendrin's Maiden was a prized possession and stood in the place of honor in his throne room, often with a scream victim inside it. Political rivals, suspected assassins, treacherous minstrels. The Maiden consumed them all. But as time passed, more people were given to the Maiden for increasingly trivial offenses. The cook for oversalting the king's food, the page boy for dropping his sword. The Maiden cast a pall over the kingdom, and its people prayed for deliverance from their cruel king. Then one day a strange woman rolled into the city. She called herself Amber and was an ministry from a far-off land. Her leaders had heard, she said, of Bernard's wisdom and authority, and she sought the king's counsel. The thought that he had earned the adulation of brother kings across the sea made Bernard swell with pride, and he granted Amber audience. They dined and danced, and through it all, Amber flattered and flawed on the king. At the end of the night, Amber asked to see the Maiden, the infamous device that had given Bernard all his power. The king, giddy with praise, proud presented Amber with the empty contraption. Amber looked at the Maiden, sighed with disappointment, and said, "That does not look terrifying at all. I should have imagined the spikes to be more sharper." Bernard grew red at her comment and replied, "The spikes are sharp enough. Look at the blood that still clings to them." "But it's so small," said Amber. "Are only children and women its victims?" Bernard grew redder still and replied, "Of course not. The Maiden has devoured many men." Amber shook her head and said to the king, "I do not believe it. Surely no warrior could fear this thing. A man like yourself, tall and muscled, would not fit within it." The king laughed and saw a way to prove the mirth of the Maiden to Amber. "I will show you how easy a man like myself could fit," he said, and with that he stepped into the device, but Amber was waiting, and no sooner had Bernard squeezed himself into the iron casket than Amber slammed it shut on him. Amber took the Maiden with the screaming moan and sighed through the castle and down into the city. The people, finally free from the king's tyrant, cheered and danced to the singing that echoed through the streets until Bernard was dead and it finally stopped. A tale often told in the Singing Maiden Tavern. Yes, that's one way to dispatch a Man.
When there was no sky maker.
Still got demons pouring out of the rifts.
Oh, Morgan. Why must you be so chatty? Okay. There we go. Can never have too much elf root.
Oh, Creator, walk only where you would bid me. Stand only in places you
Morgan.
Worried about the rift.
We'll come back here to cigarette.
Listen,
Okay. Morgan, stop! That was loud even in my ear. Siege equipment in Thetis. Siege weaponry has been used in Thetis for centuries, with primitive equipment used as far back as the Third Blight. Nevertheless, it occupies a particular niche in tools of warfare due to recruitments. Any army wishing to produce trebuchets or catapults must be funded and organized well enough to perceive both the necessary materials and military experience to construct them. Throughout history, most armies who fulfilled such a requirement did not take advantage of the situation. During the Third Blight, for example, Arsens and Monrus constructed a catapult to flee flame and debris at the Darkspawn, but the expense of the weapon did not justify the limited damage they caused, and the Darkspawn were ultimately driven back by the Grey Wardens and not siege weaponry. The Deventer forces similarly had the resource to construct siege weapons when attacking the free marches or defending themselves against the exiled marches of the Black Age. Instead, the Imperium focused primarily upon the power of its magisters, who were less powerful but more flexible than siege equipment, and who more easily fell back when the tides of battle turned. As a result, in the battles against the Chronorian Steel Age, generals found to their chagrin that the great Oxmen had left them behind. Coronary black powder is, most military experts agree, not magical. It is merely an advanced alchemy that makes their cannons more efficient than any trebuchet could ever be. Nevertheless, their remaining hope, as centuries have passed since the last blight, and mages are now safely held in the circles where they harm none. The experts of Ferelden and Orlais may once again turn to their great minds to learning. We need no magic, not where the minds of men survive unfeathered. With our resources and our commitment to knowledge, we can easily suppress the brutality Coronori on the field of battle. From Quinn, Kearns, and Steele, Military Conflicts in the Post-Blight Thetis, written 929 Dragon, short before the start of the 5th Blight. So this was before the Mage Rebellion here, before the first game as well. As you know from the terrible accident of last week, many passage through the mountains are unstable and liable to collapse at any moment. I do not wish us to lose more brothers and sisters in the search for the lost cultist treasure. We must seal all entrance into the mountains. The temple have done a careful sweep of the caves. Everything of worth was collected. What remains of the disciple of Andraste will be forgotten, buried in the earth. Once it is done, let us have no more talk of them. This is a new haven, restored to life by the true chantry and the most holy Justina V, Mother Florentine.
Excellent point, recruit. But if someone comes to lay siege to us...
Okay, give me one moment before I talk to him.
Want to sell
Sorry about that.
Harry doesn't know, won't hurt him.
Ah, you're awake and out of Lady Cassandra's clutches. And I slipped that, young
careful
elder
now.
lass good coin to tell me when you came back to us. No matter, no matter. Segret, honored to meet you. Thank you for all you've done, and hopefully will still do.
Such as?
What do you think I'll be doing exactly?
Word's already spreading that if anyone can close that blighted thing in the sky, it's you. Anything you need is yours. For a reasonable price, of course. Supplies are a little tight, given the circumstances.
And you're not going to hold my ears into accountability of these supplies, are you? Why'd you stay?
What kind of person stays to run a shop at a time like this?
The kind with nowhere else to go. Those blasted demons destroyed most of my goods. If I stay here, work some contacts, I can start rebuilding. Maybe, just maybe, help you folks out in the process.
How's the mood here?
You must speak with most everyone here. How are people doing?
Hope and fear in equal measure. No one really knows what it means when an inquisition is called. Yet. I imagine it's no better for you. You've got my sympathies, for what it's worth.
I'm sure.
Can I see what you have for sale?
Of course. My wares are at the table.
You've got nothing here I want to buy. I don't think, anyway. Very well. And you didn't give me a whole lot. How nice of you. Again, holding my ears in accountability for the sale. We'll see.
If the Inquisition wants to field a decent cavalry, it needs better horses.
Am I not online?
Might try to acquire from Master
yeah, I'll be right back, guys.
Whatever holds you. Why are you here with the scouts instead of fobbing around with the nobles anyway?
My uncle died at the Conclave. I'm a good rider, and, well, I thought I'd be more useful here.
We'll see.
Hey guys, welcome back. I was gonna have a fit. My golden nug was gone. I was offline. We're gonna load it here and get all my armor and whatnot that I have saved here.
Think you can have it done by midweek?
Quest repeated.
Quartermaster Threaten understands that your work can't be
Yes.
Master Harry.
Thank goodness. Now it's going to load up quite a bit, and we're going to hear this for a little bit. I have to go to work now. With between Dragon Age Origins boss fight, as you know, ended up being weird. And then now this came. I have to get ready. I'll probably try to record a little bit more of Haven here, edit, and have it in by some point at the night. I'll post up something in the community aspect of it, and letting you guys know that this recording won't come out until really late today. Also, tomorrow kids have doctor's appointments, and so recordings, if I can get to them when we come back, will be posted up later tomorrow too, and hopefully we'll get through all 3 games again, and we'll try to go from there. Dragon Age 2 is kind of on a standstill while I'm trying to get all the mod weapons and stuff, and then there's a bunch of codexes as well in that one. as long as this one too, we're gonna do Haven and continue. You see here, I've got all the equipment that I absolutely need. I'm planning on decking them out right away. I have a mod that gives you everything for supplies as you need to do nothing but crafting. But we have to get to Hinterlands first before we can do that. But anyway, this is where I'm going to stop, and I'll record a little bit later tonight when I get home, and possibly add the rest afterwards. So until next time, we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.